I'll be back 24 with them Batman dough. I'll be back 24 with them Batman dough. Hey baby, jump over, homie. It's kinda dark, homie.
Welcome back to the Tape Crusaders. This is a real-world podcast mini-series devoted to Batman, hosted, as always, by Matt Waters and Mike Thomas. My name is Matt Waters, who definitely remembered to hit the record button this time. I am joined, as always, by Mike Thomas. Mike, how are you for the first time this session?
Matt, stop lying to the people. You've wasted 21 minutes of my time, and I shall never forgive you.
Yeah, if this sucks, we're just going to go with, we recorded 20 awesome minutes before Matt noticed it wasn't recording. So, here's a much faster version of all my spiel getting into it. We're going to be looking at two animated films today, heavily tied into Mike's favourite character in all of Batman, Robin. We are looking at Under the Red Hood and Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. Both have a heavy theme of, the concept of the Robin character and how the Joker exploits that and how he ties into that, etc., etc. We will start with Under the Red Hood, which fans of the podcast may know I have said is among my absolute favourite Batman stories, the film. Released July 2010. It's about 75 minutes long, so it's nice and easy to get through, as has been a common theme of our last few episodes. So, I appreciate that. Written by Judd Winnick, who wrote the comic that this is based on, and this is a far better version of what he wrote in the original comic. And the story is basically Jason Todd, the second Robin, was killed by the Joker many years ago. A new criminal called the Red Hood arrives in Gotham, takes over organised crime from Black Mask, battles Batman, who discovers it's actually very much alive. You guessed it, Jason Todd. Thanks to the Lazarus Pit, which Mike is a huge, huge fan of, I am sure. That's what you talk about.
I'm not speaking to you.
Okay, Mike hates Lazarus Pit. Black Mask gets so desperate he breaks Joker out of prison. But that was Jason's plan all along, because he wanted to set up a scenario in which he confronts Batman about him not killing the Joker as revenge for his apparent death. And he tries to force Batman's hand, so he will have to kill Jason to stop Jason from killing the Joker. Batman, being Batman, finds a way out of this without killing anybody. And then there's a big explosion. Everybody lives, but Jason is missing. And we sort of end up back at the start, but Batman's got some stuff to think over. That's the second time Mike has heard me talk about what this film is about, and he doesn't do well at listening when I do it the first time. So, I'm going to kick it straight over to him with his big thoughts about this film, Under the Red Hood.
So, with Red Hood and Return of the Joker, these stories at the end are really about Bruce Wayne's desire, or subconscious desire possibly, for creating a family, and then the consequences for his desire for family, for love. This mean, cold-hearted man, deep down, still just wants to rebuild that family that he lost out on in his childhood. And this is, with Red Hood, deals with it in probably the most heartbreaking fashion that I've seen on screen, in a book, or anywhere. And it all builds this one moment where his second Robin, Jason Todd, has him Batman cornered, so to speak, not literally, and he looks at him and says,
"Bruce, I forgive you for not saving me. But why? Why on God's earth is he still alive? Ignoring what he's done in the past, blindly, stupidly disregarding the entire graveyards he's filled, the thousands who have suffered, the friends he's crippled. I thought I'd be the last person you'd ever let him hurt. If it had been you that he'd beat to a bloody pulp, if he had taken you from this world, I would have done nothing but search the planet for this pathetic pile of evil death-worshipping garbage and send him off to hell. I'm not talking about killing Penguin or Scarecrow or Dent. I'm talking about him. Just him. And doing it because he took me away from you."
And it is his most heartbreaking moment I had ever experienced with the Bruce Wayne character, with the Batman character, anything in the DC universe, quite frankly. It's so tragic and beautiful in a way that only life can be. And It's moments in comic book stories that I think are far too rare. While I obviously love comic book stories, the moments of true humanity, which can often be beautiful and tragic, as I said, just do not happen quite enough. And this was brutal stuff. Jensen Ackles delivering one of the best animated voice performances in Batman history, quite frankly. Like, the way he just loses it, it was so sad. It was one of the most memorable moments from this entire Batman viewing experience. I don't think if we created a list of like the top 10 most memorable moments in Batman from what we've seen so far through our deep dive, this would be right up there with anything.
100%. That huge, the confrontation, the conversation about why Batman doesn't kill, and how could you let him live? All of that it's the go-to moment for me. I've shown this moment isolated to people who aren't enormous Batman fans and always gotten a good response. Jensen Ackles, not the kind of guy you would expect to bring it like this. Known for questionable TV shows. People that like Supernatural really, really like Supernatural. Dark Angel, I think Smallville, that kind of stuff. A very CW-y kind of actor, a very sci-fi channel kind of actor. But he, in terms of quote-unquote celebrities that come in and do this as not their regular job, it's among the best voice performances I've ever heard in animation. Amazing. Not just that monologue, but I think throughout the whole film he's pretty good. Like he sells the quiet moments and the shouting and the fighting really well, and doesn't go over the top with any of it. What you said about Batman and his sort of making his family and sort of the pitfalls that can come with that, I love the questions this asks about the very concept of the Robin character, about who Batman is, in the same way that I like that Dark Knight Returns takes a real sort of look at everything that is Batman across those two films. The idea of, the pros and cons of having this small boy sidekick, how they help each other and are effective as a team versus this damaged man on his one-man crusade now dragging innocent children into the mix. You've got Nightwing in this film, Dick Grayson, who is sort of the most successful of the Robins, who has grown up and is his own man, and that's sort of here's when this goes well. And then you've got Jason Todd, who is this complete mess, and well, not a complete mess, but I actually really don't like the idea that they present that the Lazarus Pit changes him. I would rather it healed him, but he is messed up from that moment, and the knowledge that Batman didn't avenge him. Because I think there's plenty of story justification for a sort of sound of mind Jason Todd going down this road. And I think it's a really great sort of cautionary tale. And in general, I like anything that is a sort of a mirrored, a dark, a twisted, a character gone wrong story. And it's done a lot, and I think it's for good reason, because it's a great way to analyze the original character. And Batman is seemingly this very stoic individual, nothing bothers him, doesn't want any help, but still has this team. And I think they do a decent job of showing he carries his perceived failures toward Jason with him. That's why I like the Robin character generally, because he's seeking to fix his own past in a way. He's presented with this orphan child full of rage, just as he once was. And he knows he's kind of fucked up. So he's essentially trying to save himself through these Robins. And he did it well with Dick Grayson, who goes on to become this very popular character, both in the fiction and with fans. And then Jason is the one where it went wrong. And there are future Robins where you get other relationships, but we're focusing on this one. And yeah, I love the Jason Todd character. I'm biased towards him, but I think they tell such an eloquent story here.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a beautiful stuff. It's a beautiful story. It's a tragic story. Jason Todd is probably, based on this, one of the most interesting characters in the Batman universe. It's a character that also seems incredibly versatile in terms of the fact that you can easily see him in a Nolan universe. You could easily see him in a Burton universe. You could easily see him, even in the Snyder universe. Like he goes well with everything. He seems like someone that absolutely deserves exploration in a major film. I mean, he seems like someone that you could base a whole series of books around. I'm not saying they haven't. I have no idea. That's your territory.
This is the best realization of him. There have been multiple attempts to do ongoings. There's one at the moment. It's so, but this is the Red Hood story.
Yeah, and it forces you to ask a lot of questions about Batman. It forces you to ask a lot of questions about what Bruce Wayne is doing, and it's just good. I mean, like, I don't like everyone should see this movie. It's up there. It's easily one of the best Batman stories put on screen. Like, I wouldn't put it above Begins and Dark Knight, but I would put it above Dark Knight Rises. I don't really think that's in question. I think it's far more consistent, and it succeeds far more at what it's trying to do compared to Dark Knight Rises. I mean, like, top to bottom, everything works out perfectly. I mean, Neil Patrick Harris is amazing as Dick Grayson. He serves as a great juxtaposition. Yeah,
he brings this, like, really sincere, fun energy to Nightwing.
Yes. If you've always thought Robin was a dork or Dick Grayson was just useless, like, this will correct that very quickly for you. We have a tremendous Joker performance from John DiMaggio. Brings it. I would say kind of blends together, a more quote unquote realistic human portrayal like Heath Ledger's versus a more just psychotic for the sake of psychotic like a Dark Knight Returns. I feel like it's kind of like a mesh between the two where, like, there's a reason behind the madness, but he's going to be a little extra mad just for the sake of it at the same time.
And I really love that scene when Black Mask has set him free and they're in this sort of, it seems like a padded cell almost, but it's this little room. Black Mask is surrounded by his cronies and he's basically talking to Joker like, I am in charge, this is what I want you to do. And Joker just very calmly sits there and then suddenly murders everyone except Black Mask and his assistant, but then is like, oh, I'm still going to do this. But it's just a really effective scene, and that's the one scene where, because early in the film, I was like, oh, the first time I saw it at least, it's like, oh, this is John DiMaggio. It's weird. Bender is the Joker for some reason. And I couldn't get past that at first, but that scene is one where you really forget it's him, and it sounds a little bit Ledgery, and the scene that follows with him standing atop this truck and he's got Black Mask and his people covered in gasoline, he's going to drop a lighter on them, and you've got sort of police surrounding them and helicopter spotlights on Joker, is very Nolan-y. And I love the sort of standoff, the game of chicken between him and Red Hood, where he's like, I will set fire to them, I'm going to do this. And Red Hood's like, I don't care. And then he calls his bluff, he does go to do it, but Batman, of course, saves the day. Yeah, just that seems like that would belong right in a Nolan film, and as you said before, I'd love to see this adapted with some changes, obviously. Take out some of the more fantastical elements, Amazo and the sort of the four henchmen of Black Mask, etc. But, you could do a Red Hood story similar to this, as long as you try to do as much of that monologue as you could at the end, or the discussion between them. I would love to see this tackled at some point down the line.
I also actually really liked. I will refer to him as Ra's al Ghul, since that's how they refer to him in this story.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great use of a relatively iconic Batman character in a supporting role. Like, a lot of times, because the animated films have so much more freedom, they kind of shoehorn in some extra villains for no real reason.
Yeah. Or
not at least a good justifiable reason. Here, like, he's in there for very good, authentic reasons.
It also does a good job of... we talked about this. He's kind of not an all-out-and-out evil kind of a character.
No.
And he's very sincere in this because he was attempting to resurrect Jason because he felt guilty. Like, he worked with the Joker in the flashback, and he genuinely felt bad about what Joker did to Jason, and it was like a step too far for him. So he was attempting, as a gift to Batman, to bring Jason back to life, but then, he escapes and goes crazy, potentially.
Ra's al Ghul is basically a terrorist. He thinks he's doing the right thing,
yes.
And I don't think he's doing it for the he doesn't think he's doing it for the wrong reasons, at least. But he's a terrorist, and there's a lot you could do with a terrorist, because not every terrorist is simply just in it for power per se. But he plays a really interesting role. The other main villain in the story is Black Mask.
Yeah,
I don't know. The animation was a little bit too close to Red Skull.
Yeah, I could see that.
It was a little, and just like oddly close to Red Skull. We also already have a character. Like, there's a lot of masks in this movie. Anyway, he's just very, very angry all the time. Yeah, ooh, it's a metaphor.
We all wear masks.
He reminds me of Danny DeVito alien in Space Jam, where he's just like yelling all the time, and I just want to be like, shut the fuck up. I mean, he's very irritating, so I don't like him.
Yeah,
Mission
I wouldn't want
accomplished?
him to be. I wouldn't want this portrayal to be the main villain of a story. He is in it quite a bit, but I do kind of like, as a sort of offset to the other three main characters, to just go to him every now and then, and he's punching his own people and just yelling about everything. But yeah, it's not an amazing character. It's not one of the upper tier Batman ones. I like the idea of him, that he's this slightly more dangerous regular mobster with a bit of mystery to him. But I personally haven't read or seen that many stories where it's like, oh yeah, he's cool. It's more just, it's a good look that they don't really do a lot with. Like, someone drew it one day, it's like, yeah, that's cool. But then they haven't
It's
really
definitely
written.
a look.
Yeah, it is a look.
Definitely a look. It is officially a look. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. The story's great. Everyone should see it. I think it tackles a lot of big ideas about Batman that are worthy of exploration over and over and over again. So
Yeah.
go see this one, everyone.
Just my final thoughts on it. It's a really good way of getting into who Batman is, and I love the stuff. He says something about how without his intervention, Jason would have become a criminal, and it's the kind of arrogant Batman assertion that I find really fascinating. That this man really has a god complex, that he thinks there's no way that this street orphan who's stealing the tires off the Batmobile was going to turn out good. And maybe he's right, but I just love that sort of assuredness he has there, that he saved him, but then he also failed him or whatever.
And another, like, that's where having a more present Alfred would be useful to serve as a check to Batman.
Yeah.
He's fairly present in here compared to some other Batman stories, but you know.
I do really like that moment where he's taking the blood off a sword and he's matching it to Jason. And when it says match, that's the moment when Alfred appears with a tray of food and he drops it in shock immediately. It's a very small moment, but I think it did go a long way to showing, you know, Jason was a big part of this family for a short period of time. So would you say this has vaguely opened you up to, Robin and Nightwing and Red Hood style stories?
Yes, I think the big thing, like I said, what I really want is the Batman's family clearly should be the foundation of almost any Batman story. Like Batgirl, Nightwing, Todd, Drake, like that's the core of the story, and it'd be great to see that really fleshed out more formally. I think.
I'm desperate for a Batman family film, not like a family film about Batman, as in a film about the Batman family, because I don't think any of those characters could carry their own film.
No.
Like, I know DC want to do this big extended universe. I don't think there should be a Nightwing film and a Batgirl film. I would love to see a film where it was all of them except... I mean, Batman can be in there, but just to be a little bit different if they want. Just to show all of them trying to find him or something like that. And just seeing how they work as a group, how they support each other, their various... You know, how Batman has helped them, how they are their own people, etc., etc. I would really like to see that attempted one day, but we're not going to get anything good out of Zack Snyder. So, you know, maybe I'll just write it, and then...
Speaking of Batman family?
Yes.
Setup? Transition? Okay.
Segue achieved.
Batman Beyond, the return of Joker.
Yeah.
Briefly, should probably say some things about Batman Beyond.
Yeah. So it was a cartoon that ran from like January 99 to December 2001. So, and it's set in 2039. Yeah, that's right. I have notes. You have obviously a very old Bruce Wayne who is no longer Batman, becoming the trainer of young street punk Terry McGinnis, which is a solid cartoon character name. He becomes the new Batman, and it's set in sort of neo-Gotham. Everything's very cyberpunk, crazy lighting. I like it a lot, the aesthetic of it. I've seen some of the show a long time ago, and I've seen a couple of episodes here and there in more recent times. I like the concept a lot. It's not a patch on Batman the Animated Series, but it's a solid concept that I think they got more out of than you might think they would. And I think the crowning achievement of it is this film, Return of the Joker. which for a long time was considered among the best sort of one-off Batman films. I think it's pretty good. I like it a lot less than I do Under the Red Hood, but overall it's a decent sort of self-contained story, I think.
Yeah, Batman Beyond was something that I watched initially from the beginning, and at least probably for a season at the time. I was pretty young, so it was a little hard to keep track of those things. But, I was desperate for more Batman stories, and that was the Batman story they were telling. It's a pretty cool concept. Older Bruce Wayne. He's got a great dog. Love dogs, obviously.
Ace the Bat Dog.
Ace. Terry McGinnis is pretty bland.
He's very okay.
He's very okay. It's basically like, what's a really bad impression of Peter Parker, but he's Batman.
That's the whole thing of this. It's like, what if Batman trained Spider-Man? Is the concept of this.
And I guess that's not inherently a bad idea. I don't think Will Friedle was particularly bad at it or anything like that. Something about this orphan boy just felt a little too basic in a way that Jason Todd did not, for instance, or even Dick Grayson does not, or Bruce Wayne does not. It's hard to explain why. I can't really put my finger on it.
A lot of it is kind of like when the pilot kicks off, he's like in trouble with the law, and he's sort of a no good kid, and sort of the speed with which he becomes bland, vanilla, white baby face good guy it's a bit quick.
Yeah,
I think it's potentially interesting. I love the idea of sort of dirtbags who stumble into heroic roles and then change gradually. I think that's good, but again, I haven't seen it in a long time, but to me, I think the speed with which he changes around is a bit much.
I think it's tough when he's the main character. Like, I think that character naturally works, like, perhaps in an ensemble. They had the makings of a good ensemble here. You got Old Man Bruce Wayne, you got the dog, Barbara Gordon's the commissioner.
Yeah, she is. He had a friend. He had she's not in the film, but he had like a sort of best friend who might have been in love with him.
Oh, right.
I don't remember her name. She was like tech support.
Right. There's potential. I think they needed a little bit more of a wider cast of characters.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what they should have done, but Terry wasn't enough.
I think a lot of it is they felt sort of beholden to show a lot of Bruce Wayne, for people to sort of remain grounded. Like, oh, don't worry, guys, Bruce is still here.
Yeah.
But then you also have to do Batman, and so they split that time predominantly, and then whatever was left went to villains, and a little bit left went to supporting characters. So.
Yeah, and Old Man Bruce is great. I love Old Man Bruce. I think that's he's kind of ideally suited for perhaps a man who never thought he'd live to be this old.
Yeah, definitely.
Trying to figure out how he's going to do some good in the world.
Yeah, because I think the story in the pilot was that he sort of soldiered on as an old Batman for a while when like everyone else had quit and he was working.
He was the
alone.
last one standing. Yeah. And I believe the opening scene is basically he's in his future Batman Beyond suit, and he's just like, never again. Like he's just too old now. He just physically can't do the job anymore. And and then I think Terry ends up in the house somehow and steals the suit or something like that. Is that what happened?
Yeah. And fights the Jokers with a Z.
Yeah, I really like this idea, and I thought it was a great, clever idea. Is that Joker becomes this like cult villain?
Yeah.
For street gangs, and they dress
Magneto
up like
was
him.
right, t-shirts, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a really, it's a cool idea to have them in the background. But I think what we've touched on so far is kind of the key, is that this series, it didn't move forward, or like it didn't know what it wanted to be, basically.
Yeah.
It didn't know how
I think
to
it was
forward.
a little bit scared to stray too far away from Batman, as we knew him.
And like I feel conflicted about that because I really like Kevin Conroy's Bruce Wayne. I really like Barbara Gordon. I really like the Joker. Yeah. But, you're making this first big movie, or the only big movie I think they made with Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
And it's about bringing back a character from the animated series. And it's, I think that kind of goes to show you that they didn't really have anything substantial enough to do on their own. Like they had to go back to that well. And it's not a terrible story. I mean, it's got some goofy technology in it for sure.
It's 2039, bro.
That they really don't explain it well at all. But basically the premise is that in what was a downright horrifying scene, Joker and Harley Quinn.
Oh god, yeah, so disturbing.
Tim Drake. And in one of the most disturbing scenes ever, like, we see what happens to Tim Drake as they turn him into a little mini Joker. And it's the most disturbing, domestic, violent household. It's honestly, it's like dream haunting stuff. It's so fucked up. I don't know if they intended to be that fucked up, or that's just the way, I guess, you and I have both interpreted it. But,
no, I think they set... I don't know, I think Bruce Timm, who's the guy behind the animated series... I think he said he always envisioned Batman Beyond as child-friendly, but a lot of other people have always said this is a lot darker than Batman normally is, and they did attempt to play with those sort of concepts, but yeah, like, Joker Jr. is among the most fucked up things I've seen in any adaptation of Batman.
Yeah.
He kills Joker.
Yeah, he kills Joker. The speculation that Batman must have been pushed to a point to kill Joker, yada, yada, yada. Joker returns from the dead in the future. What happened? Yada, yada, yada. It turns out Tim Drake killed Joker, but before then, the Joker had the foresight to implant his fucking DNA in Tim Drake so that he could spontaneously become alive again in the future.
For increasing periods of time until he will one day be fully Joker.
It's like some, Voldemort's diary shit.
Yeah.
Only somehow stupider. Because you can't at least you can always say magic with Harry Potter. Like, here it's just okay.
Well, I think if they told some sort of story where he, psychologically, hypnotherapy embedded his personality into his brain.
Yes.
The problem there is, how do you snap him out of it quickly? When you have a small chip that can conveniently be fried at the climax of this film to fix Tim Drake.
Yeah. Anyway, I think this story's a little thin. Mm-hmm. I think especially in comparison to Under the Red Hood, it's, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but it's...
Well, you're dealing with a very different era in DC animation. This is part of the old animated universe, which was, Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, the Justice League cartoons, all of that. And then they abandoned that at some point and started their new universe, which had the films we've been covering recently, Year One, Dark Knight Returns, Justice League New Frontier, whole bunch of stuff. And they are decidedly aimed at an older audience. Several of them have swearing and extreme violence, whatnot. This is it's flirting with being darker, and obviously they are presenting this incredibly terrifying Joker Jr., but it is still fundamentally rooted in a kid's Batman cartoon. And it was actually famously edited on release. I think the original version was the only one that ever came to the UK, so I've never seen the edit. But you can look it up, there's a huge list of things they changed, taking out blood and not showing death directly and all sorts of stuff. So it did originally come out in America quite heavily edited, and then they relented and re-released it as the gloriously violent, disturbing version that exists. So yeah, it's not as sophisticated a story, but based on what there was to go on before, it was a shining example, and now as sort of more mature stories have been told, it's sort of slipped down the rankings, as it were.
Yeah, and it's fine, definitely, to acknowledge that at the time it was, a bigger deal, a little bit more ambitious. It really doesn't age all that well. They really rushed this Batman firing Terry arc. I felt like it made sense in the idea Bruce is like, I won't let this happen to another Robin, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, exactly. I do like that. Because, he reluctantly accepts him as the new Batman in the first place, but I like that this film posits that he essentially sees him as a glorified Robin. Especially talking about this directly after we do Red Hood, where, Joker killed the second Robin, and they're telling this story about how he took Tim. For Joker to suddenly return from the dead, that's the one thing where he's like, absolutely not, and he sort of snaps back to that position of, no, you cannot do this.
Yeah, and like I said, that's all interesting. I think what this project really made clear, though, is that we have a really, really awesome take on that story.
Yes.
And this one is not nearly as good
Yeah.
or worthy of exploration and investigation and discussion.
Well, that story hadn't been written yet, so...
No, for sure. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is at this point now, it's kind of
yeah.
something that you can kind of just. It's a footnote, frankly, in Batman animated history. Notable, it's got Hamill, it's got Conroy.
Yep.
It's like I said, I think it's the only Batman Beyond animated movie.
It is, yeah.
But it just feels a little cheap. And I don't mean like the look. I just like the story just feels they're grasping at straws.
Well, essentially, a large amount of the runtime is spent in the flashback.
Yeah.
Where you have young Batman, you have Batgirl, you have Tim Drake, you have Joker and Harley, where they got Arlen Sorkin back, who is a great Harley Quinn. And I think they probably did that to play it safe and to sort of appeal to people who maybe... Like, there's a decent chance this probably played better with people that weren't into Batman Beyond, but were big fans of Batman the Animated Series. So I would imagine they felt they had to do this. And, I don't know, it's good. Like, it is pleasant seeing them. It is sort of a nice sort of nostalgic, oh, look, it's all the designs I remember. But then, if you take that out, and, like, it opens with a sort of 10-minute fight scene that isn't really all that consequential, it's just his Batman fighting the Joker's gang. So it's kind of just a long episode with that stuff shoved in as well. But yeah, again, I think it wasn't as ambitious. Like it's canonically set within Series 3 of the show. So I think it was really treated as just, here's essentially a feature-length episode, rather than, here's our ambitious Batman Beyond film. Yeah,
and, it's as interesting as you would expect, given that.
I like that, because obviously Terry McGinnis is not Bruce Wayne, and a big concept of it was that this suit is so sophisticated it makes up for his shortcomings versus... Because, I mean, Bruce spent years training and dedicating himself, and Terry essentially, while I think they imply that he's like a decent fighter or whatever, he's obviously...
He's basically the Intersect and Chuck.
Yeah.
Great reference, by the way.
Yeah, fantastic.
Like, he's just along for the ride. Like it's and I don't know. Like maybe thought like, hey, you two can become Batman one day. Like this is such a Peter Parker version of Batman.
Sure.
And,
but I mean,
like right down to the smart aleck comments that just won't stop happening, and they're never funny.
Yeah, fine, but. That's the thing I like. Like I was gonna say, like the suit as a concept was supposed to, even the odds for him, and he thus fights very differently to Bruce Wayne. Like he's got invisibility and flight and all sorts of crazy tech in this suit, and I think the series did every so often do the sort of crisis of confidence moment where it's like, oh, I'll never be as good as Bruce, or Bruce scolding him and being, you need to listen, or whatever. And this film does close with, it's not that elegant, but they do at least try and say, here's how Terry succeeded, where in a way that Bruce, not more so than Bruce, but just the fact that he's different is a highlight. And he talks about it, like, he says how Batman very rarely spoke back to Joker or didn't give him a lot of sort of feedback, and he was craving it, and that's why Joker was obsessed with Bruce Wayne. And instead, Terry McGinnis is a very chatty young man, annoyingly, for the most part. And, I think it's also, as a side note very quickly, I think it's interesting seeing a Batman who actually does want to maintain a social life. And you get that sort of Spider-Man thing of, he's always late and he's sleepy because the consequences of his other life, whatever, versus Bruce Wayne, who is just all consumed by Batman. But, he ultimately prevails because of potentially perceived weaknesses compared to Bruce, in that he's chatty and he basically annoys the Joker long enough to distract him. Again, I don't think it's all that well done, but I do like that they made that token effort to do that, to say Terry is not Bruce, but that's okay because Terry can do this.
Yeah.
What do you think of the ending? Because I think it's a little bit flat.
I think it was like the perfect storm of everything.
Like I think it
not
could have
but just like so many things I did not feel invested in happening all at once.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think anything consequential was going to happen with Joker. I didn't think this was actually Joker. I also don't really happen to care about Tim Drake all that much. You know, like, sad old man with the family getting fucked over, sad. But, like, it's just...
I just think it could have used a slightly bigger sort of emotional reunion between... You've got old lady Barbara Gordon, old man Bruce Wayne, and old man Tim Drake in a room together. Yeah. I think they could have done more with that. Like, it wasn't part of the plot, but they should have almost had it so that... I mean, they do imply that Bruce isn't really in contact with many of his old friends, so I think there could have been more of a sort of... This is the first time they've all been together in so long. And maybe even have... They mention Nightwing, Dick Grayson, but he's never shown. Maybe have him show up as well. Just some big sort of get-together, like, sharing feelings, whatever. Because it just sort of... You know, Bruce just opens the door and says hello to him, and then we see Terry putting on the Batman suit, and then off to another episode in Series 3. It felt it needed that slight bit more at the end to me.
I think that kind of sums up the movie to me. It's just like, it's fine. It's very watchable. It's just, it's not enough to really be anything all that excited about or to even really recommend all that strongly. Yeah.
It's cool they gave it a little try, you know? Here's our Batman Beyond film. And I think...
E for effort.
Yes. And I think if you don't want to sit down and watch 3 seasons of the show, you can watch this and you kind of get what it's all about in a way. This show has a lot more original villains. A lot of them are like inspired by the classic villains. And by the way, you've got Michael Rosenbaum in here playing what looks like a kid who's been inspired by the Scarecrow, doing a Christopher Walken voice for no discernible reason. Yeah, and Sabrina.
Yeah, no, it's also Clarissa.
Oh, okay. She's Clarissa. And Sabrina the Teenage Witch as the Dee twins, who are Harley Quinn's granddaughters. Stuff like that is kind of fun, but it's sort of a one-liner. Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah. So yeah, if you just wanted to be like, what's Batman Beyond? Watch this. It's easy enough to watch.
If you're actually only going to watch one Batman Beyond thing, it might as well be this one, because you probably have some nostalgia for things happening in the movie, and you get everything you need to know about Batman Beyond in a tight 70 minutes package.
Yeah.
Which is possibly like the least enthusiastic endorsement possible for anything. But, you know, that's what we promise you here.
We set a very low bar for you. Mike, hater of fun, dismisser of things.
Yes. I'm the Red Hood, though.
And the Red Hood's pretty good, though.
Go get your parents' HBO Go log in and go watch that right now. That's all I gotta say.
Okay, then. So, yeah, that's been it. I think in the original recording of this, it probably would have been longer, because we had to truncate a bit of the Under the Red Hood discussion, because we were saying it for the second time. But hey.
Yeah. I also couldn't remember what I had said the first time versus the second time, and I was like, am I repeating myself right now? Well, I mean, I know I'm repeating myself right now, but am I repeating myself on recording? So I guess we'll find out.
This one's on me, everyone. I think this was originally going to be one of our better episodes. If it's not, this is on me. I'm not actually sure what we're going to be doing next time. It might actually be time to confront our dragon of Batman the Animated Series. Or maybe we'll do Mask of the Phantasm and Sub-Zero. But I think if we do that, we've got to do Batman the Animated Series right after, because they're directly tied in.
Yeah, we can pull that off.
Yeah. So I think it will finally be time to do something tangentially related to Batman Taz next week. So stay tuned for that. But for now, this has been The Real World Podcast, presents the Tape Crusaders, soundcloud.com/Mike and Matt, entertherealworld.com. Stay tuned for hot articles and hot podcast content just coming your way all the time. I've been Matt Waters. He's been Mike Thomas. I'm sure he's got a really hilarious thing to say to bring it home.
Greek chorus.